Swedish-British journalist, filmmaker, political writer, and author of 5 books, Pelle Neuroth-Taylor.
Now, I watched your Oxford Union speech, which has got 1 million views, I think it is, and very funny it was too. Full of praise in the comments. And there you say talked about taking on tyrants, Russia and China, and that they're the adversaries of the US. But I've been reading books about the Russiagate hoax, and I don't have much detailed information, but I've been listening to podcasts and things. But it seems that event to topple Trump has got European and maybe even British fingerprints on it, with that guy Christopher Steele being a former MI6 agent, and then there's no such thing as a former MI6 agent, they say sometimes in the intelligence world. The British don't want Trump because if he weakens NATO, and the British power relies on America being inside NATO, so there's an obvious motive there. Do you think we need to drain the London swamp as much as we need to drain the Washington swamp?
Well, first, I'd say it's absolute garbage to say President Trump weakens NATO. He actually made it stronger. When we arrived in office, 2/3 of NATO members weren't paying their dues, their 2% of GDP to the collective defense, and they weren't even hitting their self-proclaimed target force goals, which is, the minimum requirement. By the end of our administration, that number of laggards had dropped to 1/3 from 2/3. So no, President Trump did the opposite to NATO. Anybody who says he's against NATO is, again, talking Russian propaganda. Right. But with regards to your first point, absolutely. Look, John Brennan, Obama's director of the CIA, needed a way to get around the US Constitution's barrier on spying against US citizens without a warrant. So he involved MI6, he involved the GCHQ. This is all documented in the great books by the likes of John Solomon, Dan Bongino, Lee Smith, and then even Australia with Ambassador Downey being the individual who set up George Papadopoulos in that bar in London to justify the CIA using FISA warrants against US citizens. So yeah, the fingerprints of Five Eyes are all over this. And with regards to your last point, the deep state or the swamp is just as bad in the UK. Look at what happened with Brexit.